Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. I need you guys to smash that like button because today we continue the BusyWorks Beats podcast. And today we're going to address the producer community and the status of the producer community. I want to ask the first question is, what do you think of the producer community? Do you guys think it can get better? Is it spiraling into hell? Is it growing? What do you think truly? What is your sentiment? I'll open up the comments below so that everybody can comment. I won't block comments. This isn't a dictatorship in the comments. Okay. But I want to hear your true sentiment about the producer community because we have built this producer community since 2009, I want to say. And I could say that from when we started back then, making small videos to help, people in a small Facebook group of like 50 people. Shout out to, was Ice Boogie Dame Main Beats, created a small Facebook group of like 50 producers in there. He was teaching us how to sell music online. And I ended up helping a producer named Chi Chi Beats, and I would put the YouTube videos up on YouTube. Now, I was simply just trying to help somebody else. That was it. But that video was seen by more people, okay? And it helped more people. And I got addicted to the fact that other people are being helped. Even though I tried to help Chi Chi Beats, it helps somebody else. And when you see yourself grow, it gets really addicting because you just want to help more and more people. So that's my point of view from the music producer community. I can say in the last 2 to 3 years, I have seen more negativity in the music producer community. That could be, results of the greater macro economy. It could be a lot of things. I don't want to put this on an individual creator. I do think there are a lot of negative voices, but instead of using the word negative, let's use the word contrarian, because I think that when we position stuff as positive or negative, we're trying to assume the most righteous path. Like I'm pious because they're negative, because they just oppose my point of view. So let's use the word contrarian in this video instead of negative. So I have seen more contrarian sentiment in the music producer community. So from my point of view, it all started, NFX Beats, taught us FL Studio. I took the, torch, carried it and taught more people. Then you see a newer age of people who are teaching people FL Studio. I'm using FL Studio because that's what the main DAW most people are using, okay, in hip hop. So you see the new class of teachers, your Jay Cactuses, your Kyle Beats, your Nick Miras, your, name it, Simon Servitas, your Larry O's, etc. There's a class after that. And then the class after that, we got into speed runs, shout out to Rob, shout out to Chauncey, if I'm saying that right. And the younger kids really bringing a new angle to short form and synth it. He changed the whole game of short form. So we see this like super like crystallized version of music producer tutorials and helping each other. And I think that's awesome. With that, I have seen, however, because we've grown so much, that contrarianism, if that's even a word, to be a contrarian becomes a way to get views. And I can't blame the people being a contrarian. Sorry, my Wi-Fi is like glitching, y'all. But I can't blame the contrarian because that may be their perspective as to how to get attention. Because if everybody else is doing FL Studio speed runs and this person's doing FL Studio, how to mix, and then you got Ableton tutorials on sound design, they figure where do they fit in? And some people believe that they truly fit in by being against the culture, and they create a subculture. So I don't want to make this video about demonizing anybody. I just want to acknowledge that I have seen, many instances of contrarianism increasing in the music producer community. But my question to you guys is, where do you think it's headed? Where do you think it is currently? I truly believe recently, okay, this is more of a front street type of thing, is, I believe that a lot of music producer content creators have been compromised. And this is simply because the behind the scenes communication between content creators and leadership in the producer community has not dismantled or failed. It's been scattered. Okay. And because not everyone sees the same message, and again, it doesn't matter if you agree with each other. It doesn't matter if you disagree. We should be able, as content creators who have a responsibility to our audience, to come under one roof, discuss topics on the table and say, here's my point of view. Here's my point of view. How can we best serve the people? That's the ultimate goal. How can we best serve the people? I don't care if you speak negatively upon my brand. I don't care if you have a, contrarian take. How do we serve the people? That's what needs to be the question at hand. And, because I've created different masterminds, the first mastermind was a really good communication chain. The second mastermind, after I closed that first mastermind, was not the greatest communication chain because the people who were in the first mastermind, I never had a chance to invite them to the second. So when you guys saw things about the different companies that are in the news right now, the news, okay, that are in the spotlight, I should say, right now. And you guys can reverse engineer to figure out which companies I'm talking about. But it was a big thing, in the music producer community recently, okay, about the producer community being compromised. Now, that happened outside of my mastermind. So the initial mastermind had about 100 to 250 people who were prominent in the music production space, not only in our space of the content creation space, but also the music industry. Everybody from Cashmere, Decap, Illmind was in there at one point, Simon Servita, J Cactus. I can name drop all day long. Jacob from Software Audio, Studio Linked, okay, Evan Groves. Who else? Altruism, I think, was in there at one point. Craftmaster MG at one point. Curtis King. It was a long list of people. I'm not here to gloat. I'm here to show you that the goal of the group was to communicate, okay, and to share opportunities and help each other. Now, there became a point where people would leave the group on their own, or, just forgot about the group or whatever. And we invited a lot of people to the group, and I created the group, by the way. It was on Telegram. My point in bringing this up is, there's a tipping point to where if you invite too many people to the group, there's too many unknown people, and then the trust isn't all the way there. So I closed the first group because there was just too many people and I didn't know everybody. Okay. So in that, I created a second group. Now, the first group was easier to galvanize because we were all centering around the pandemic, and we all wanted to help each other because it was like, I don't want to see people pass away. That was the real true energy behind it, is we wanted to help humans at that point. And we gave out the power pack. We gave out as much value as we could to help people. That was truly the greatest splash I think we've ever made in the producer community, was simply joining forces to help people. That was the goal. And the second group, once I closed the first mastermind, the second mastermind was on Instagram. Now, this one, I didn't invite people as fervently because I was, I guess, scorned, or whatever the word would be, scarred. I don't know. I can't think of the proper word, from the first group, because I invited too many people. So here I'm being a little more selective and inviting people slower. And because it was a slow velocity of people joining, I wasn't super hyperactive in communicating. So I had to close that group recently. I just closed it yesterday because I said, in my head, I need to be extremely, extremely selective. So my point is, the people who were in the first group, okay, which lasted until about 2022, that group was closed. Now, the second group opened with producer community leaders, people who are responsible for their influence over people. Whether you can deem yourself an influence or not, you have an influence over people. People who look up to you as an authority, you have a responsibility to serve that person. Okay, so it's not only to keep people accountable, it's to make sure that we're serving the people regardless of views. Okay, now, when I say views, I mean viewpoints. Now, the second group, like I said, I keep going in about this group because I want you guys to understand where the communication chain broke and where we started to see this defecting going on. Okay, so the second channel did not invite the same people. Okay, it did not have Evan Groves in it. It did not have Studio Linked in there. It did not have, actually, I don't know if Av was in the second group or not, but it did not, I don't think Bolo was in there either. Forgive me, I don't know the exact list of people. It's not an expose. I'm not trying to pinpoint people, but I have to use this as an example. My point is, they were not in the communication chain, okay? And the reason we have the communication chain, one, is to work for this audience first, okay? And serve one another's brands first. That was the first mission. The second mission was, let's work together so that we can better leverage each other to do better business with the audio companies. Okay, that was the second intent, okay? So when we hear about audio companies and all this different stuff, that they are not on the inside, okay, of what we deem the producer community leadership, okay? They are on the outside. So we're trying to protect, the people ultimately. And, from that point on, long story short, the second group not collapsed, but I recently ended the Instagram group. So I'm saying this to say, we need to have a singular communication channel. The problem is, everybody is just so focused on their own life. They're not worried about checking Instagram or checking the email thread or checking Discord. Like, they're all over the place. And the hardest part is just getting people under one roof, one communication channel, so that we can all have one mission, which is to communicate. Because what happened in the recent scandals you guys have seen in the producer community, where I believe, certain content creators were compromised. You guys saw that in real time. I'm reading the sentiment. You guys are acknowledging that you were losing trust with content creators because they seem compromised. And I have to acknowledge that. That is a sentiment, a real sentiment in the producer community. So because of this, we need to get on one accord and make sure we're all working for each, the audience's self-interest, you guys' self-interest. Because if everybody's working on a selfish intent, you build a selfish community. And when you build a selfish community, there is no community. Okay. A community needs to have altruists. Shout out to Altruist. It needs to have the altruist personality. And altruist basically does something, they give up their own life force so that somebody else can survive. Okay. But when everybody's in this selfish survival mindset where it's like, take, I don't care what the consequences are for another person, it actually destroys the fabric of community. So whether people believe they acknowledge it or not, whether people are going to be accountable or not, this is not about a witch hunt. This is not about demonizing people. This is not about negativity. It's about figuring out a way to get on a better communication channel with the leadership of the producer community. Now, the question is in the comments, which I love to see, who do you guys believe is a true leader in the producer community? Now, firstly, I'll talk about myself. Okay, you guys can call me narcissist. Cool. I'm pretty sure everybody in the world has some form of ego and narcissism. The definition of ego means to be separate from the group. Okay, so if we have a personality and a body, that means we're separate from the group. Us identifying as human is an ego. We're separated from God, and we believe we're separate from the entity of all things. So that alone is an ego. So if you call that narcissism, then I just have to claim the dark shadow side of myself and say narcissism. My goal is to bring us all together. Okay, that is a group mentality. I'm trying to group us together because one, we get more intelligence that way. Two, we can better optimize the way resources are spread in this community. Three, we can actually build an investor class in this community if we work together. And four is simply the survival of the producer community requires, again, like I said, altruists. You cannot do this without altruists. It does not work without altruists. A selfish group eventually breeds selfish genes. The offspring then becomes selfish and then undermines the group. Therefore, there is no group if you have selfish intent behind it. So we need to make the people first. Okay. I'll claim every negative word you want to call me. Call me a shill. Call me a grifter. Call me narcissist. Call me evil. Call me a Suno sellout. Call me the AI bot. Call me, what do people say? Bussy Works Beats. Call me, what else? My first name, as if you know me, Carlin Hines. Call me whatever you want to call me in the comments. That's not going to change anything. Emotions don't change anything. Actions change things. And my ultimate message to you guys is this, is that business works off of self-interest. It does not work off of opinion and emotion. It works off of self-interest. It doesn't matter how much you want something to change. If you don't have leverage, you probably cannot change that thing. So ultimately, we're trying to bring you guys the leverage against these companies doing people foul. The companies just using us basically to get super high valuations and then running off on the person who basically made them popular. I can name content after content creator who has sewn into companies. Now, content creators I can't say everybody will relate with what I'm about to say. Content creators will understand what I'm about to say. So content creator, they call you an influencer in the email. Hey, it says, hey there. It doesn't even say your first name. Hey there, comma, next paragraph. I have a new, and they didn't even introduce themselves. They didn't even get to know you first. It says, hey there, comma, next paragraph. We have a new plugin we want you to show off to your audience for free, basically. We're going to give you a free version of this plugin called an NFR, and we give you the license code below. Cool. Go talk to your audience and tell them about it, and that's it. And, after a while, that gets a little frustrating as a content creator, not because they didn't offer any money. It's just because people truly think that we owe them something. And they don't have the leverage. The audio companies don't have the leverage. If they're not going to make content for themselves, they don't have the leverage. They could run ads all day with a static image. Do static images really sell things? Or is it when they go on YouTube, they type in Native Instruments keyboard, Bolo, Native Instruments keyboard, Av McCree's point of view, Native Instruments keyboard, Jay Cactus's point of view, Native Instruments keyboard, Simon Savita's point of view, Native Instruments keyboard, who else? I can't even think of people. Kyle Beats. Okay. And they go to everybody's point of view. They make up their mind. They look at the sentiment. They look at the, community, what they have to say. And then they decide on an $800 keyboard. Do they really need it? Maybe not. But it's not about if somebody needs it or if it's the best. It's about, do they want it? And if they truly want it, then they're going to get it. If they don't want it, then they don't get it. But we as content creators, we're making these videos for these companies, and these companies are making tens of thousands of dollars. I've seen the back end. I could tell you guys, I think it was a matter of 7 videos generated 20 something thousand dollars. I think that's the last time I recall that. And I was like, once I saw that from the company, I'm not going to what is it called? I'm not going to say the company, disclose the company name. Once I saw the back end guys, we need to understand the value of what we're doing. Okay. And it's not to act like we're extorting companies. No, it's if these companies, these audio companies specifically understood this one thing, Okay. Sorry, my Wi-Fi is like glitching, y'all. I'm like Harry Potter. If you understood this one thing as an audio company, it's that if you give equity, meaning a percentage of a sale that did not exist before that content creator made the video. Okay. In other words, if BusyWorks Beats makes a video about, or let's say Pro Tool, or excuse me, not Pro Tools, FL Studio. And, that video convinces thousands of people to buy FL Studio that would never have thought of buying FL Studio before. That came from his video. So the sale never existed before. So let's say there's 1,000 sales and they all spent $200. That is $250,000 generated by one person. And I have way more stats on that. I don't even know how many copies of FL Studio I've sold, definitely in the millions. Okay. So $250,000 that is generated for free for a company. Now they could look at us like press, which is like, okay, they're going to talk about us anyway. But that's the arrogance that these companies have, is that they truly believe that we have to talk about them. And the issue becomes this: it's when you don't tie in the content creator to the equity of the transaction, you're not making them believe that they own a piece of the company. So for example, you should start at 30% for content creators. That's a starting point. The margins for software is infinite. You can scale infinitely. There's basically no cost to software outside of the labor to make the code. Outside of that, what is the cost to software? There is none. So when these companies, these audio companies, are not giving equity to content creators, I'm talking about 30%. That's on the low end. 50% for more trusted people who drive more traffic. Give them an incentive to work higher. 50%, try harder. 50%, boom. Now that $200 purchase is $100 in their pocket because they've helped somebody, because they truly want to help people, but they're also getting rewarded for helping people, even if they don't have something to sell like a course or a plugin or their own products, because they're going to be deemed a shill for talking about their own stuff. But they truly want to help people with FL Studio because they use it. So they should be compensated for actually bringing people into the economy of FL Studio. And what I've seen over time is that these companies do not value the content creators. You guys have seen my journey with ImageLine. It is a shocking journey. Okay. Like I said, I'm not here to, be negative. Some people would say. The fact is the fact. We've created millions of dollars for that company. Was I ever in these conversations for equity, a percentage? We used to have affiliates back in the day. They turned that off, but now it's an inside thing. You see, so it's very selective. We were on the power user list. Then they took us off because of the artist relationship manager that they have. So it's all this like negative stuff behind the scenes you guys might not see. And I'm using me as an example to say that I've done it myself. That's why I know you guys are going through it. So when you make a company tens of thousands, like I said, 30%, 50%, for more trusted folks, then 80% for the content creators who are really putting in like they are building their trust so that people can actually get answers and solutions. And if you're getting endorsed traffic to that level, 20%, think about this as a company, an audio company. If I give my salesmen, which content creators are basically salesmen, they're helping people and they need to be rewarded. Now, let's say they get 80% of the sale. Now, some, skeptics say 80%, that's more than we make. It's of a sale that never existed before. Start there. It never existed before. Okay, now secondly, 20% compounded throughout the month. You get 20% on 20% on 20% of your money. That's going to be well over 5x ROI if you did a Facebook campaign trying to turn your dollar into 5 over 3 months. In 3 months' time, you know how much you can compound in content value? If you get 20%, meaning the 20% you would get of the sale times however many sales happen in that amount of time, it's called the velocity of money. So for audio companies who think they're being smarter going with Facebook ads and meta ads, we already have the scale. We already have the audience. They're already trusting us. Why would you go through a cold system like Meta to talk to people who don't? You basically have to talk to a customer who doesn't know you. Therefore, they're going to look up our stuff because they believe in humans and they believe in their opinion and they believe in their experience. They're going to go to the human. So ultimately, you paying Facebook is solidifying that you are cold traffic. Okay. Because ultimately they're going to go to a content creator before they make their decision. And again, I know influencer is like it's like having what is it called? The scarlet letter on you. We don't want to be called influencers. That's an archaic word. It's very archaic. We want to be called content creators, and we want to be credited just like a partnership would. Because again, if I'm driving hundreds of thousands of dollars of sales to your company and you give me an NFR, I'm going to say F you. And that's from the heart of all content creators. At a certain point, you say, if somebody's doing so much good for you and you just think not to give them anything, that's a super red flag. Talk about narcissism. We need to look at the audio companies in the community. Those are the real narcissists. They are pimping you guys for millions of dollars, not thousands, not tens of thousands, not even hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. Okay. And I can also say this is that a lot of these companies will hire one person, put them on payroll. Let's say they pay them 60 to 100K. They call them the marketing expert. Well, that marketing expert, you know what they do? They go to content creators like yourself, like myself, and they say, hey, you want to be a part of this campaign? I'm going to give you an NFR. You download it, put it on your computer, and you make a ton of videos for us for free. Just make sure you tag us, and we'll know that it exists. We won't reshare it. We won't send it to our email list. We won't put it on the website. We won't give you any money in exchange. We won't give you an affiliate link, but we're behind you. The only person getting paid in that equation is the employee who is pimping you. Okay, we need to be honest about this. That's narcissism. That's selfish intent. That's what destroys communities, is when there's no reciprocity of value. There's no balance. There's no justification of transaction. That's what destroys communities. So we need to get back to the core of what gives us the leverage. What gives us the leverage is that we all love music. We all love to make music. We all make the content. We make the products for the stuff that we like. We love sounds. Okay, we buy stuff. We buy a lot of stuff. I have a keyboard right here. This is a $4,000 keyboard. I'm pretty sure I bought it for like used, so it was like $2,000, but it's my favorite keyboard. Now in the closet, I have thousands of dollars worth of synthesizers. Right here, I have speakers that are $4,000, I think, that I bought for the commercial studio. I have some other speakers worth like $1,000. There's vinyls on the floor. Now, luckily, I got these for like $300 from a neighbor. There's an acoustic booth behind me. Okay, that was $700 for 2 pieces. And then the microphone is $4,000. I think I bought it used or something like that. So just this equipment in the room, well over $20,000 worth of stuff. And this isn't even my commercial spot where I had everything in there. And a computer, okay? Now, my point in saying all this is that we spend money as music producers because we love what we're doing. We love to master the craft, okay? That's just the nature of who we are. We love to turn a pencil, which I think I have an old video, how I turned a pencil into a full beat. It's not that the thing needs to be the best thing ever. Like I could sample my son's toys, for example, and make a hard beat. So it's not that I need the greatest of greatest keyboards and I'm only going to buy the best of the best gear. Sometimes it's just simply, we need to understand the value that we let other people extract at our own detriment, okay? That's all. We just need to understand that we're spending money, but it's going outside of the community. I don't have time to really explain economy to everybody here, but the short is communities that are the strongest, you know what they do? They pass the dollar to their neighbor. They say, okay, I bring in the dollar to a community. I'm going to pass this dollar to my neighbor. That neighbor's going to process that dollar. He's going to pass it to neighbor number 2. Neighbor number 2 processes the dollar, does whatever they do, passes it to neighbor number 3. Then neighbor number 3, sends it to the outside of the community. So I guess my point is, if we focus on building the infrastructure of the producer community, which I've been building, and I would love to find more builders who would love to build the infrastructure. I think in the last month and a half alone, we have 75 placement opportunities when we partnered up with Beat Matchmaker. Shout out to Beat Matchmaker, which I am counsel for their board, an advisor, if you will, for the Beat Matchmaker. Okay. So we're going to have a beat battle soon. Come join us on Discord. Let me show you guys my Discord, not even our Discord. I don't want to say mine because. All right, so here's 129,168 folks in our Discord. Make sure you go to discord.gg/busyworksbeats. We're the fastest growing Discord for music production. We're about to be the #1 in the space. Shout out to you guys. And we're going to celebrate with a beat battle soon. So come join us soon. Click where it says Busy Works Beats in the top left. Go to where it says Show All Channels, and then scroll down to where it says Placement Opportunities. So if you count all the placement opportunities going all the way back to December, we had about 75 placement opportunities in a matter of a month and a half. Okay. So I'm not saying this is going to be the placement factory. I'm just saying that we're creating real solutions. Okay. We're connecting you guys with opportunities. We're giving you guys the education you need. We're giving you the sounds. Let me just show you guys real quick. Lunch 77 hooked us up with a huge trap drum pack. So if you guys go to where it says downloads, make sure you guys go to where it says drum kits and then look for the latest post. Lunch 77 gave out his trap drums, Metro Boomin kit, Southside, Pierre Bourne, Take Keith, Murder Beats, Wheezy, Pyrex, London, TM88, Zaytoven, Boy Wonder, Mike Dean, Kenny Beats, Nick Mirror, Ronnie J, Okay, on and on and on. And so he has collected those drums over the years, and he's basically shared those with the producer community. So come join us. You know, you're going to get all the drums you need. We even put up free plugins, not pirated plugins, free plugins that are actually good. What else? We have a sample catalog of like all the classic hip hop samples. Let me show you guys that, because that's also pretty dope. So if you click on the left side where it says hip hop samples, we have all the classic stuff from Dr. Dre, Nas, Illmatic, Kanye West, College Dropout, Eazy-E. We even have like a vinyl collection of stuff that's even beyond just the classic hip hop stuff. So you guys can go digging virtually. Okay, so here's the one where it says huge vinyl sample collection, and I've curated that for you guys. So we have a lot of stuff that gets you started right in our Discord. So think of this like a producer city. Okay, this is where we truly have, you know, cool stuff like song feedbacks, beat battles. We help each other. We have loops. There's tons of loops in here. Let me switch screens real quick to show you guys. We have channels for trap loops, drill loops, pain loops, hip hop loops, rage loops. And these guys are fair. You know, all they're asking is a 50-50 split and credit. Okay, so it's not like they're like, yo, I want 100% of the songwriter portion and all this. You know, these guys are fair to work with. So it's up to you who you work with, but it's very easy to collab in this Discord. Now, this is just one, you know, point of the producer community. I'm not acting like this is the entirety of the producer community. Okay, I'm just saying that this is a great place to be because people can communicate. So again, my ultimate goal for, you know, the producer community moving forward is we need to create a communication chain. That's number one. Number two, I think we need to incentivize each other to help one another. And that comes into understanding a little bit more of the business and launch campaigns and things like that. But thirdly, I think we need to, you know, galvanize as content creators specifically because we're the ones who interface with the audio companies. And if we're like listening to you guys are the voice and we are the representative, we need to act on your behalf with these audio companies. So we need to move in unison, not necessarily with Unison Audio. I'm saying we need to move in unison, meaning in one accord. We need to all be aligned, harmonically speaking, so that when we go to these companies, one, they understand that we have the leverage. We already have trust between one another. We've been helping each other for years. Okay. These audio companies are trying to milk off of you guys. So that's, you know, they need to understand that we already have the leverage, is my point. And that's how deals get done. You know, that's how people get compensated. That's how the community gets better product. That's how, you know, voices get to the product development so that you're not just building some random product that nobody asked for. So it helps everybody when there is an ecosystem of not just hierarchy, but an ecosystem of communication, really. That's what it comes down to. Okay, so those are my visions for the producer community. Again, I want to hear you guys' true sentiment. Do you believe there is no producer community? I could just show you the Discord. We have 130,000 people almost. It's a lot of folks, okay? And, you know, when people say there's no community, you know, I think they just gave up on the idea of people coming together. So I want to make this video a call to action to all the leaders who claim to be leaders and claim they have responsibility. Pretty much anybody with a significant following and a strong voice in the community, I consider a leader. And we need to be responsible with our voices and make sure we're serving the people first. Okay. So I'm not here to chastise anybody. I'm not here to demonize anybody. I'm not here to bring anybody down. This is just a call to action to get us to communicate. That's it. And I don't care if we're arch enemies. I don't care if Curtis King is in the chat. I'm not going to block him from some emotion. We need to have communication so that we're building and not destroying everything that we build. All right, y'all. That's it. Subscribe if you're new and share with a friend. Peace.